Hello, welcome back. Believe it or not, we have a story today. I'd like to apologize for not saying anything on YouTube or internet last Sunday, but let's just put it this way. We had technical difficulties, meaning I was depressed. That's all there is to it. And when I can't pull myself together, there's no point in trying to do a story. But we're back. I tend to bounce back. It just takes me a little while sometimes. Today's story is going to be called The Courthouse. On a Saturday, when some of you who have been watching my stories, you know that I started working in the nursery, which was only like a couple of 100 feet away from where we lived. And I worked every day after school and all day Saturdays. And once in a while, Tante Clara, who was the owner and a lady that I dearly loved, not so much her husband, but that's for another day, she would give me a little note because obviously we didn't have a telephone and we didn't have carrier pigeons. So she would give me a little envelope to take home. And then there was always something that she wanted my parents to know. So on this particular day, after I was done working, and she said, okay, here, give this to your mommy when she comes home tonight, because my mother worked on Saturdays. And when I gave it to my mother, she said, oh, Tante Clara has invited you for breakfast tomorrow morning. She needs you to work for a few hours on Sunday. Is that okay with you? And I said, yeah, oh yeah, that's fine. I like working there. And my mother said, but when you come home, you and I have a special thing that we need to do. We're going to go into town, but I'll tell you after you come home from working for her. So, of course, that whole time, while I was working for Clara, I kept thinking, wow, I wonder what it is that my mother wants to do. Why didn't she tell me something special? So anyway, when I came home, I said, Mama, okay, what is it? What are we going to do? And she said, well, come here, sit down. I need to talk to you about something. She said, you know that Papa was gone for a few days? And I said, yes. And she said, well, I need to tell you what happened. Your father was arrested, and they put him in jail. And I looked at her, and I said, what? My Papa, why would they do that? And my mother said, well, it's a little bit hard to explain, but let me put it this way. Because of the destruction and because of the war, a lot of people like us live, in very tiny little houses, and a lot of people don't always have enough food or shoes or clothes. And so this market developed, and she said it's called the black market, which is illegal. But there are people who have things that other people need, and so you go and you exchange things. Of course, some of them may have been stolen, I don't really know, but she said it's illegal. And your father was caught trading something on the black market. And let us suffice to say that's it. I don't know what he was trading, but they caught him, they put him in jail. And they decided that it would be better for the government to give us a fine instead of having him sit in jail where he would actually have food every day. So what's going to have to happen for the next few months, we have to pay this fine. And obviously, she said, I can't take off work. I can't give the money to your dad because she said, you know how he is. He will probably take the money and run over to Nana's place and buy liquor. And although your grandmother loves you very, very much, and you know that, and I know you adore her, but she's not exactly very responsible. And even though you're a little girl, you're more of an adult than she is, and I can depend on you. So I need you to go and take that money once a month. What I have done, and she took out this funny little bag that was on this long string, and she said, I want you to take that money, put it in this little bag. It had like a little flap, and she said, come here, I'll show you. She put it around my waist, and then the little bag was in the front, and the strings came around. She tied it, and she said, okay, now, you're gonna put it right next to your tummy, in your underpants, and under your skirt, so that nobody can see it. Because she said, you know, who knows, that Johann that keeps beating up on you and stealing stuff from you, and I don't know, you know, if they see you just walking along, I'm afraid somebody might take it if you had it like in a bag or something that people could see. But now the problem is, how does the money get there? So you and I need to walk over there, and you don't have to go with the little ferry, because we can walk to the bridge. And by the way, that's the bridge that my dad jumped off to get into the river. And she said we'll walk across there, and then we have to go for at least another 25 minutes. But I have to take you there, and you're gonna have to walk. We don't have money for you to take the streetcar. So it'll probably take you at least 45 minutes. So you have to make sure that you get there early enough so that you don't get there when they're closed. And that's what we did. She got me all dressed so I would look nice, and we had a wonderful walk. It was a beautiful day. And yeah, it took almost an hour to get there. And when we got to the courthouse, it was this beautiful big building. And she said, but this is not where you go in. She said, yeah, I have to show you here. It's on this side here, at that side door. She said, that's where you need to go in. Of course, today, you know, she said they're closed. But during the week, this is where it's open. And you go in and you ask them where you go to pay the fine. And she said, very important. And she took my face like this, like, looked right at me. And she said, look, it's very, very important. You get a receipt so that we can prove that we paid it. And I said, okay, yeah, I can do that. And my mother said, since you're such a good little girl and you're so sweet, I've saved up some money. And what we're gonna do on the way back home, instead of walking across the bridge and down by the river, we're going to go to that cafe that you like so much. And I went, oh, Café Stecker? She said, no, that's the one you go to with your grandmother. The one that I like. Remember the one is that really, really big restaurant in a very old Victorian house. And when you go in, they have this long bar on this side, and at the end they have all the cake in the glass case. But on this side, I said, oh, I know, Mama, I know. That's the one where every table has an aquarium in the wall, and it has all these beautiful little fish. And there are some that are like, that have like a blue light in their tummy. She said, yeah, that place. That's where we're gonna go. So we walked in there, and I loved that place because I had never seen fish like that. It was just amazing. And when the waitress came over, my mother said, I would like to have a cup of coffee. That was a big thing with my mom. Oh my God, real coffee. And then she said, and the little one is gonna have a cup of milk. And the waitress said, milk? And my mother said, yes, she's gonna have Kaffee verkehrt. Kaffee verkehrt is basically what they used to give little kids, and I loved it. It was a cup of hot milk, and then she would put like 2 or 3 tablespoons of coffee in it. So I just thought that was spectacular. So the waitress said, you mean that's it? You're just coming in here for something to drink? There's all this cake back there. Don't you want cake? And I knew instinctively that the reason my mother had not ordered cake, she didn't have the money. So when the waitress looked at me and she said, what's wrong with you? Don't you like cake? And I said, oh no, I love cake, but I'm just not hungry, which of course was completely untrue. But I wasn't about to tell her that my mother didn't have the money to buy a piece of cake. And after the waitress left, my mom sort of reached over and she squeezed my hand and she said, you know, it's amazing how much you already know. You're still a little girl, but you're so intuitive. You know that the only reason I didn't order cake is because you know I don't have the money. And we actually, when we leave here, I really don't want to pay for the ferry boat. I want us to walk all the way back to the bridge and then go across that way. And I said, oh, that's fine. I like walking. We can go by that little park, and then the theater is there, and that's a really pretty building, and I really like the park. Can we go see? Maybe there are some flowers blooming. She said, oh yeah, there should be something by now. And she immediately, I could tell there was something really on her mind. She looked very serious and she looked sad. And she grabbed both of my hands again and she said, you know, I cannot tell you how sorry I am about the way that you're being raised, but no little children should experience something like that. But this is what war does. And I just hope when you're an adult, you will have a very happy life. And I think you will. There's just something in my heart that makes me think you will have a wonderful life. And it's just very hard now. And I remember looking at her and I said, Mama, I don't think it's hard. And she said, you don't think it's hard? I said, oh no. I have Oscar, my fox, and I love you, and I love Oma, and I love Papa, and you let me have a kitty. And Tante Clara is always very sweet. And you know what I did today? I had over 100 plants in this big wooden planter box, and Tante Clara had me take them out because she said, you do it, you have those little fingers. And then I planted them in these tiny little pots. They were about this big. And do you know that I did all 100 of them? And then they got into these big trays, and it was beautiful looking after all those plants were done, because I said, you know what it's like? In the middle, there are 2 rows, and there are plants everywhere, and then there is a path on each side, and then there are more rows with plants, and it's the most beautiful place, and I really, really like working there. And you know what? You know what she did? And my mother said, I don't know. What did she do? Tell me. And she said, she told me that because she knew that I was going to have to go somewhere. I don't know how she knew that. And my mother said, oh, I went over there yesterday evening after I came home from work. I told her what I was going to have to do with you today. So Tante Clara said, since you're going to have to walk really, really far, guess what? You can have 2 eggs today, not just 1. But that's why I came home with 1 egg, because I told her I didn't need to eat both. I could bring 1 home for you. And my mother just smiled and she said, I can't believe how sweet you are. You're always so sweet. You always smile. You always work. Anyway, let's hope that things will get better soon, and the next time we come here, I can buy you a piece of cake. And I said, that would be nice, but you don't have to. Then she said, okay, I think, do you want to go home? I said, yeah, let's go home. So we walked back out, walked back up over the bridge, and came down on the other side. And when we got home, my grandmother was all ready to leave, and those 2, they were always fighting. And my grandmother said, I have no idea what your problem is. You should be happy. I leave every day. You don't have enough food for all of us anyway. So why do you get upset that I get dressed every afternoon, I leave every afternoon, and I go have dinner in town? You should applaud me. That's what you should be doing, instead of getting angry and telling me I'm a floozy. So maybe I'm a floozy. I don't care, but you should be happy. I don't eat here. And what you're cooking today, this is so disgusting. You better not let the little one see this. And I'm standing right there and I'm thinking, do they not know that I hear this conversation? And she said, you know what? That's probably why he got arrested. That's disgusting. That's horse meat. And I went, what? You have a dead horse? And my mother said, well, when a horse dies, what they do now, they can't just bury it or whatever they used to do. They sell the meat. And I said, can I be excused? My mother said, don't worry about it. We're not gonna, you don't eat meat anyway, and I know the smell is pretty bad. You can take Oscar and the kitty and you can go eat blackberries or strawberries or whatever. You don't even have to come in the house. And I said, oh yes, I would really like that. So I walked outside and I took Oscar and I went down by the blackberry hedge and I ate blackberries, and I decided that one day when I was big, I was gonna have a huge garden, just like we had in our little garden with strawberries and raspberries. And every Sunday, I was gonna bake a cake. And I was always gonna have butter and coffee. And I was gonna have lots of shoes. And I was always gonna have a really nice winter coat. And I just sort of went off into this little fantasy world. I got very good at that, at creating this little universe that didn't exist. And at a later point, you will find out why that was my survival technique. But for today, that's all I'm gonna tell you. Thank you very much for watching, and I love you. And hopefully I'll see you next Sunday. Bye.